everyone, my name is Jessica Rampetsreiter, and along with my wonderful teammates Austin, Nowell, Sara Frick, and Morgan Prost, our group was able to determine a new sales strategy project that will benefit Manpower Group. I currently work for Manpower Group as an associate recruiter, and our team thought it would be appropriate to select this particular company just because the project management team has something going on every single week. At some point, it would be great to present this to our project management team. But they do have a lot of seminars going on for schools throughout the area, and they have a lot of sales training programs. So we thought this would be a wonderful new program to implement. So our idea is to hold a student career day seminar where senior students can come in and do mock interviews with some of our associate recruiters and get their resumes reviewed. And it gives them a chance to kind of connect with our client organization, some of our client organizations who are hiring, and just kind of get an idea of what jobs might be out there once they graduate high school. So I think this is a great strategy to incorporate for the fact that not only are we getting Manpower Group's name and brand out there, but it also helps out the company's client organizations as well, because we're bringing in new team members through their doors, so they also benefit from that. And even if students don't decide, okay, I'm not going to join Manpower Group, it still gets our name out there for other potential client organizations. So we're just going to go through a couple of the details surrounding our current project. And we hope that at some point in time we can present this to the official project management team at Manpower Group. The first key component of our project plan is the project scope, which identifies all of our objectives, assumptions, dependencies, and constraints throughout the project. So objectives are just the goals that need to be accomplished. Assumptions are certainties, or those things that we know are going to happen. Dependencies are the deliverables that are required for our project to succeed. And then constraints are just those things that might hinder or limit the project. So it's just important to identify all of these before proceeding, just so we can be better prepared and increase the chances of our project being successful. The first component of the project scope is just objectives, or goals that we want to accomplish. Of course, our ultimate goal is to launch our Senior Student Career Seminar by December of 2018. That is our long-term goal. And then I've just incorporated several short-term goals to kind of lead up to that. It helps having a few short-term goals just so we can kind of stay on track and increase our chances of making that long-term goal a reality. So the first short-term goal is just to distribute school invites and deliver our in-classroom presentations by the end of October. This main goal right here is just kind of get feeling things out, making sure that we're able to get student participation and make sure everything is out there so we can start planning for the project, determining how many people are going to be attending, whether the next steps are even feasible, whether we can proceed with our project. And then the next short-term goal is to gather a list of participant names and then design the badges and event itinerary by the first week of November. So once we have discovered who will all be attending the career seminar, that's when we can actually start getting things in place, getting our lobby set up, and just the things in order to have prepared for the students by the time that the seminar arrives. And then the other short-term goal is to obtain 25 recruiter volunteers by the second week of November. Of course, our event would not be a success without the help of without volunteers and people from the company itself. So it is our goal just to kind of get a few recruiters on board to help with the mock interviews, the resume reviews, and just kind of, help make this event successful and fun for the students involved. The second component of our project scope involves identifying assumptions. These are certainties, or things that we know need to be in place in order for a project to succeed. Our first assumption is that we know 64 participants will be attending the event. This includes students, teachers, and company clients. Roughly there's going to be about 25 students attending from each school. There's going to be 2 schools involved throughout the area. And then we assume that there'll be 4 chaperones aboard to kind of help with those students, and then 10 company clients. So roughly 64 participants attending the event. Now, the second assumption is that we will follow proper scope change protocol if times do change. So, in the event that we're unable to kind of abide by, our monthly goals, finish tasks by the end of, October or November, we will, adjust things accordingly so that, we can still ensure this project is a success. It's just going to be at a different point in time instead of December. So, and then the last point here is just no consulting with volunteers outside of the organization. We really have everybody in place that we need right at Manpower headquarters, so there's no need for us to try to, recruit people from outside. We've got our recruiters working on the second floor of our building that we can ask for volunteers, and then we've got our project management team in place. So beyond that, we don't really need any outside help, which is great. We can kind of just keep things nice and simple for the purposes of this project. The third component of our project scope involves identifying dependencies, and these are just deliverables that are required for the project. We need these things in place in order to ensure that the project is going to be successful. Our first dependency here is just, we receive participant names prior to printing out into the name badges and itinerary pamphlets. This is going to save us so much time and resources. We need to have a head count prior to proceeding with any other parts of our project, whether that be setting up the lobby or getting things ready for the students. That's important. And then the next dependency is having at least 10 client companies setting up their vendor booths. So we thought that it would be a good idea to have a representative come from several of our client companies, such as Verizon, Comcast, Coca-Cola Bottling, Pep Boys, companies that we work with on a daily basis. We'd have one representative come and set up a table or booth just so that students could walk around and kind of get to know that company and see what opportunities are out there for careers. We do need this in place, though, just to kind of make this event successful. That is part of the event. We know that a lot of students will be looking forward to seeing what additional opportunities are out there for them. And then the third dependency here is that we do require at least 25 volunteer recruiters to oversee the mock interviews and the resumes. The mock interviews are probably going to take up, that's going to take a little bit longer. And the resume reviews, that's pretty simple, but we figure at least if we have 25 people in place, it's going to help speed things up a little bit, get the students moving forward so they don't have to wait too long. And, they can kind of network with them and get to know, what they do on a day-to-day basis and get to know what Manpower is about and possibly even get to know the company that they work with, that the recruiter works with. So, but with 25 volunteers, that should be efficient enough to ensure that things do run smoothly and that we have everything on time for the event. The fourth and final component of the project scope are constraints. These are some things that might hinder or limit the project. It's important to identify constraints just so that we can be realistic about the project and possibly determine backups if needed to ensure that the project is still a success and that it won't fail. The first constraint that we've identified is time management. We need to receive all participant forms and the volunteer recruiter list by our designated deadline time so that we can proceed with the remainder of the project. If we don't receive those, obviously it does push us back a little bit and we can't start planning, decorating the lobby or ordering name badges or anything like that. So it's kind of important that we know that our students are going to make it, that our company clients are going to make it, that recruiters are going to be able to be on board just before we decide to move forward. Obviously, the students are going to make our project here a success, so we need to make sure that they're willing to come. Now, the second constraint is just depending, on our client workload, it might be difficult to find volunteer recruiters during this time. Usually at this point of the year, it's not too difficult for recruiters to have a little bit of extra time on their hands. Our clients generally the client workload generally starts to slow down during our fourth quarter because they don't have a lot of interviews during the holiday time. So this is very unlikely that this will happen, but we just kind of need to plan accordingly for this and see how many recruiters we're actually going to be able to get. And, we want to know that we're going to have enough volunteer recruiters to be able to accommodate all of the students that show up for the event. And then the third constraint is that not all participants may show up for the event. So maybe some students will, call out sick. There might be inclement weather that, prohibits some students from attending or a school from attending. So it's definitely important to have a contingency plan in place should any of these constraints, come up. But again, the third one is also not very likely, just because, we do have at least 50 students that are supposed to attend. So if majority, even if half of them were to show up for that day, we'd still make it work. It'd be enough to make it work. The next main component of our project is, of course, our project plan. What exactly are we looking to do for our event? So how are we going to make this event a success? I'm just going to briefly go through some details, a couple components of our project plan, and then just some things that have to be accomplished by certain dates. Of course, there are a lot of outside tasks that we need to accomplish prior to setting up the event at Manpower Group headquarters. And actually, Austin is going to get into the communication aspect in a little bit here, just as far as distribution materials for our schools and our clients. But I'm just going to go through some of the key components of the event that is going to be held at the headquarter building. So the first main component here is going to be the check-in table and the name badge distribution area. Every visitor that enters Manpower needs to check in at the front desk. So our students will enter through the main doors, go right to the check-in table, and then on a table next to that they will see a name badge. This name badge is actually going to be their access pass to everything, on the first floor, and will be their ticket to lunch. So it's important that they have that and that we're able to have that identification for them throughout the day. The second component is going to be our keynote speaker, Jonas Pricing. He is currently the CEO of Manpower Group. Really phenomenal leader. We'll expect him to give a bit of an overview of the company and then offer some words of inspiration and encouragement. Usually he's a great guy to get everyone pumped up and ready for the event. So we anticipate that speech going very well. And then after, the next component after that would just be lunch. So it's actually going to be different sporadic times throughout the day. So we do have different times for different students based on their group, and that'll be listed on the itinerary. So each student, when they first enter the building, they'll get their itinerary slip, and then they'll be assigned into a certain group. That group will kind of go through the different stations of our event, such as the breakout sessions, mock interviews, resume reviews, and then it'll designate their appropriate lunchtime. But each student's going to get about $8 voucher to spend within the cafeteria. So usually they'll eat like kings with that $8 voucher. That does cover for quite a bit of food. And the students will get that, the teacher chaperones will get that, and then the company client representatives will also receive that voucher as well. The fourth component is going to be our company booths. We expect to have 10 representatives coming from our different client companies. So again, these are clients from Verizon, Comcast, Coca-Cola Bottling, Pep Boys, and they're just going to be bringing some promotional materials from the organization. And the goal is for students just to be able to visit these different booths and get a feel for what that company is all about, and what opportunities they might have once they graduate from high school, or positions they might be able to obtain during college. So that'll be held in the front lobby as well. And then the last component here is going to be breakout sessions, and these are really just going to be going through how to write a resume, proper interview attire and etiquette. So just reviewing some key components prior to landing a job. So these are just really informative breakout sessions for the students. And the students will be able to attend these, again, based on the group that they're assigned to prior to, they'll assign to once they receive that itinerary form. And these breakout sessions are going to be held in the assigned meeting rooms on the first floor. So everything is going to be on the main main level of Manpower Group, so no one is going to get lost. It makes it easier, it keeps everything confined in one area, and it doesn't disrupt business because everyone else is on the second floor. So these are just the major key components of the event that we have to plan out. Obviously, there's a lot of extensive detail that goes into planning an event such as this. My goal here, though, is just to kind of outline some of the main tasks that we came up with and a couple of deadlines associated with those. So the first task here is to contact selected company clients by Monday, October 22nd. So we want to know that company clients are going to be able to make it to the event. This is obviously a huge portion of the event. You know, we want students to be able to talk with companies and get a feel for different opportunities that are out there. We want to make it engaging for them and give them the opportunity to network with other companies. So we want to make sure that they're going to be there. So hence we're going to start by contacting them first. The second task is to send out school invites by Wednesday, October 24th. And receive a student headcount by Wednesday, October 31st. So during this time, you know, we'll be sending out flyers to different schools, you know, kind of getting piquing a little bit of a student interest for that. And then going into these schools during that time as well to kind of give a little presentation on, you know, what our event is all about and some resume and interview tips so they can be prepped and ready to go for that event. And then, of course, we want to get a head count and we want to make sure that we can proceed with this event based on the number of students that we have. The third task is to just gather a list of participant names and then design the name badges and itinerary by Friday, November 9th. Then with the participant names, it's important we get that so then we can start planning out our itinerary list. A lot of that is dependent on our number of attendees, so we will be breaking people off into groups just so that we can kind of accommodate everybody and make sure everyone is able to experience each breakthrough session and, you know, make sure they have lunch. And we want to do this in such a way that it doesn't disrupt other members of the organization either. So it's important to get that name list in place and then get those badges designed and ready to go. Another task then is to send out emails to employee recruiters and gather the volunteer list by Friday, November 16th. We want to make sure that the students are going to have be able to network with some of our employee recruiters. We want enough in place to be able to manage our mock interviews and resume reviews for each of our students. Ideally, we would like to have 25 volunteer recruiters. So usually we don't have an issue with finding recruiters for some of these events because during this time a lot of recruiters do have free time, but it's just important that we have that list ready to go so that we know we're going to be able to accommodate everybody. The next task is just to gather materials and equipment for breakout sessions in the assembly room by Friday, November 23rd. We won't need a whole lot for the breakout sessions. Each room usually will come equipped with a screen and computer and connectors, so we just want to make sure that all the technology does function prior to the event. Obviously, sometimes technology doesn't work when you want it to, so we just want to make sure that even in the event that we're to fail on that day, that we have something else in place within that room to kind of improvise for that. The next task then would be to send out itinerary email to employees, volunteers, and company clients by Wednesday, November 28th. We just kind of want to give everybody a heads up of what time things will be happening. You know, obviously the students and the chaperone teachers, they'll receive their itinerary lists on the same day of the event. But we just want to make sure that everyone kind of knows where they need to be at what time. You know, especially company clients, they need to plan their day accordingly because they also have business needs that they will have to attend to throughout the day as well at their organization. And then the next task is to make sure, you know, do table setup and equipment testing on Monday, December 3rd. So just kind of setting up getting those tables ready for our vendors, making sure that they really don't have to deal with anything except setting up advertising materials come the day of the event, and then testing out all of our equipment again. So especially with the keynote speaker, we want to make sure that the microphone is working for Jonas when he comes in, and you know, we want to ensure that all of our computers, our screens, and our connectors work in the breakout session rooms. Again, it never hurts to test those a couple times. And then last but not least, ultimately we want to launch our high school career fair on Tuesday, December 4th. So ideally by this date we will have all of our tasks completed and we can proceed to have fun with the students and make this event a success for the company. Usually, our company's goal or our saying is we do well by doing good, and we hope that by having this event in place, it'll really make an impact on the students within our community and, even help out some of our client organizations. So Manpower is all about, changing people's lives and innovation. So we believe that this event would be a great way for us to do this.
Now we're going to talk about communication. First, I like to start out with the sponsors and clients. Sponsors are Manpower Group. We'll be sponsoring this event. Our clientele will be high school students in the Milwaukee School District. Knowing our target market will help us narrow down the focus and educate the students about interviewing, how to build a resume, and how to crush an interview. This will help them make the next step into their career. There are many different communication channels to use to get the word out. Communication is key when it comes to this project. We need to make sure that everyone is on the same page internally. To be on the same page, the manager that is running the project will be sending out an email blast to keep everyone up to date. This way, we can all let everybody know in advance. Employees do not have to do this. This will be strictly a volunteer situation. Meetings will be a must, and we will hold around 2 meetings a week, one Monday and one Friday, to make sure that everything is going smoothly. What questions will be asked during the mock interview, etc. We want to make sure that we get the kids educated enough and know what we will be doing. Therefore, we will also be sending emails to teachers. We will keep them informed about the dates and times that work best for our employees to meet with the students. Communication. After confirming the times with the teachers, we will ask them to set up the classroom as if there were an actual interview about to happen. When the day begins, we will all meet promptly at the select time and start the mock interviewing process. We will be sending out an email to the teachers stating what the students will be needing and along with their resume. This will help the students have a real life practice in interviewing. Manpower Group will be bringing handouts for the students. These handouts will consist of interviewing tips, what not to do, and what to do. We will also give them a sample resume for them to work off of. This will all be communicated when we send out an email to the teachers. After this, the MPS students will be able to reach out to us and set up a meeting anytime they want. This can be right after high school or after they graduate college. We will help them be successful and extend the learning process. Interviewing tips. This will be one of the handouts that we will be bringing. This will allow the students to understand what needs to get done before and during the interview. During our mock interview, we will address why body language and eye contact is important. Interviewers can read body language. If you come off slouched or not showing eye contact, you can blow the whole entire interview. This is the main highlight to the interview that we want to address. Now I'm going to read some of the interviewing tips. I think the attitude and appearance is something that employers seek high on, and this will be communicated with the students and with the teachers. First of all, you want to be early. Again, you want to be friendly and courteous. You want to show enthusiasm and interest. And lastly, you want to show confidence in your abilities. If you don't show confidence in your abilities, then more than likely they won't hire you. And this is something that we want to get across to the students, that you have to be confident in what you can do. Lastly, resume. This will be a handout alongside of their own resume. Students will be able to see what a good resume looks like, and they will be able to adjust their resume according to the template. This will give the high school students a chance to learn this young and will set up them greatly for the future. I feel like after this all has been communicated from our staff that are volunteering this event, from the teachers to the students, I feel like all this communication will go well. And this mock interview will go well, teaching the kids something about what to do with their career.
Next, we are going to be moving on to the implementation plan. We will cover a few things as we go over this. Initially, the deployment method, which we will cover the pre-event mobilization, the setup, and the takedown. And then second, we're going to look over change readiness. For the pre-event mobilization phase, we will have an event coordinator and a staff assembled. They will be sending out invitations by October 20th, so that would have already happened. The company representative will be sent out to classrooms for the school that we'll be going to deliver a presentation about the career day. That'll be done on October 30th, so next Tuesday. Next, there will be a gathering of participants' names that will be put into an Access database document to be used for badges, for event itinerary things, and coordinating. Access is a great database that we can be using for this part of our pre-event mobilization. Lastly, we're going to actively recruit 25 volunteers through posted flyers and through canvassing as well. They'll be able to help assist the event staff as we go through the career day. The next phase will be the setup phase. We'll have campus maintenance crew set up 2 days before the event. Volunteers will work on finishing touches in the check-in area in the front lobby the day before the event. The day of the event, volunteers will be staffed at the check-in table. Extra food will be prepared in the cafeteria to accommodate any additional people on campus for the event. Lastly, maintenance and IT staff will assist any companies as they set up their booths, and they will also help with any technical setup needed for that day. For change readiness, just a brief overview here. We need to be able to adapt to any changes that are needing attention as they happen throughout the day. So we're going to have volunteers on response to act as an assist team. They will be on standby for any miscellaneous emergencies. And volunteers will assist with any transitions needed during the breakout session on the first floor. The next phase is the takedown phase. Volunteers, after the event is over, will stick around to clean up any of the areas that were used. Maintenance staff will also, I use the word recombobulation, they'll straighten out all the facilities that they have used for this event and return them to their original purpose that they were intended for. Lastly, the closing of the project plan. We will be sending out payments for the facilities that were used, payments for the staff that were used, paying for the guest speaker. Then we're going to send out thank you cards to all the volunteers and participants of the event. Surveys for students to complete about the event will be sent out about a couple days after. Results will be shared with the school and those who are interested who have attended. Review of events and success and failures will be conducted and will be implemented any changes that are needed for the next event.